Welcome back. I recently got a really fun package from Cozmick Creations, which is a brand that I work with. I do have a discount code. I don't get paid when anyone uses it. It's just a bonus for you guys. One of the really nice things with working with Laura is that once a quarter I get a package from her of paints from the shop, sometimes things to test out, and some extra bits. And so in this box there were definitely a bunch of extra bits, but there were also my paints for this quarter. And so this time around I went with a lot of matte paints. There were also a couple surprises that I can't talk about yet that are going to be released in the next couple weeks, which is so much fun. And she included a Holbein set because I've been wanting to try them for ages. She also included a Daniel Smith Primatech Genuine set for me to play around with, and another shop had sent her an extra to give to one of her BAs, and she kindly included it in my package. As with pretty much every paint brand, everything has to be unwrapped. And so I spent probably 30-40 minutes unwrapping everything and figuring out what colors I got. Anyone who works with small shops knows that sometimes you can put in requests for colors, but that doesn't necessarily mean you'll get the colors you've requested. This time around I got most of the colors I'd requested, but there were some fun, exciting new additions that I hadn't requested yet, or were brand new additions to the shop, and so hadn't even been placed in the shop when I put my request in, which was a nice surprise. I'm sorting metallics up to the top, super granulating-ish colors over to the left side of the tin, and then like normal mattes over to the right, just so that when I go to do the swatches it's a little bit easier, because I do keep separate brushes and rinse containers for mattes versus metallics. Everyone sort of does things differently. It's been my personal preference to keep everything separate. Like with any paint, you sort of want to re-wet them and give them a minute or two to soak, just to make sure everything's fully activated. And then I got to get into swatching. This is Shadow Rose, which was one of the brand new colors that had only been in the shop, I think 2 days when I got my package, and so I hadn't actually seen anyone play with it. I'd only seen the shop swatches, and I was so excited. It was fantastic. And there were a few more of these really granulating colors, including Berry, which has been around for a few more weeks, but none of the people on the BA team had it yet, and so my swatches of it were limited. This was Violet Horizon, which again I had been waiting to get to play around with I had first seen a swatch of it about a month ago, and so finally getting to have it in hand was super exciting. Then we get into my favorite pigment, which is PG23, which is Green Earth. And there are so many variations of this color, and Laura has recently added 4 to her shop. And so I have all 4 variations now of the Green Earth, and they are Toad, Pickle, Moss, and Green Fog. And I just love them. Even though they're the same pigment, they look so different. Then we have Spring. So my plan going into this was I already had a selection of mattes from the last BA package in the fall/winter, and I just wanted to add more colors to my palette to sort of round out that color selection. And so they're slightly odd color choices if you don't already know what's in my palette. There's no true yellow, there's really no red in this because I already have those. There's really no blues or teals because I've already got those. I needed more of the like conveniency sort of fun colors that I didn't get the first time around because I was going for basic colors the first time around. You'll notice that anything that seems super interesting, I also do a diluted swatch of. That's because sometimes those really bold colors look super different diluted. And you can see on the side that's sort of starting to happen with the granulating colors. The dark ones are looking pretty similar, but on the lighter swatches you can see the purples starting to separate out from the pinks and the blues. And so having the double swatch is super important so that when you're piece planning and you're planning to do a light wash, you know what the color will actually look like in that light wash. I was also so excited for the browns. The browns are also new additions to the shop. This one tripped me up. I thought I swatched it twice because I believe the next color I swatched looks very similar. Once they dry though, they do look different. It was just in the moment of swatching them, they looked very similar. Oh, that's dragon fruit. I already had her mimosa and her quin magenta, so I went back and forth on getting dragon fruit or not. In the end, I was quite happy I did because it is very different than the other 2 pinks that I had in my palette already. So this is the one that looks similar. One is Clover Blossom and one is Lotus. And so even though they look similar, they're not identical, and they do look different on paper. I think that's Twilight. Yeah, I think that's Twilight. I've been on the search for a good indigo in my palette since I took the Cotman paints out of my palette. I'm still on the search for like the perfect indigo that matches the Cotman one, but I have to say this indigo made me very happy. In the end, I did 3 swatches of it. I did a full strength, I did like 50%, and I did the like 75 super diluted wash one I normally do. And then we got into the shimmers. The only shimmer I'd picked out was the pure gold, and that's because I've only had a dot of it that I've been using for probably the past year and a half. My favorite gold is from a shop that no longer exists, and so I've been on the hunt for a new gold to replace it, and Laura's pure gold has so far been my favorite. She also sent along new gold, which is the color I swatch, I believe, next. And while I do like, oh no, I swatch mink next. Makes a great color. So I do all metallic swatches on both black and white, and on occasion toned paper if that's what I'm going to be painting on. So this is New Gold, which leans a bit too yellow on white for what I like to use pure gold for, but I really like it on black. That is Crystal Spring, which is a really pretty green that has an ever so slightly blue teal shift. It's not a super shifter, but I would say that it does definitely have a shift. Up next we have Hydrangea, which is a very pretty purpley blue color. I have so many of these purpley blue colors in my palette because they're definitely one of my favorite colors. The last two colors are testers, which is probably one of my favorite parts about getting to work with small shops, is getting to test out new colors that they're considering bringing in. It's always exciting to play around with things that may or may not end up for sale. And so one was a super shifter and one was like this flaky shimmer that I really, really liked because it was so different than anything else I have in my palette. I realized I'd forgotten to take a clip of the metallics on black and white, so here they are on white and here they are on black. Pure gold is still definitely my favorite gold, but I do really like the tester colors as well. And finally, here are all of the mattes that I have from Cozmick Creations swatched out together. The new colors have a little black dot beside them. As you can see, it is a really well-rounded palette, even if the color selection that I got today wasn't the most well-rounded selection. It filled some gaps that existed in what I already had.